Hello everybody, this is Jonathan Farrington and this is the latest episode of the JF Interview series. My guest today is Krista Moore, and a little bit about Krista. She's a sought-after motivational speaker, an expert in sales leadership, a certified business coach, and a published author. Krista founded K-Coaching Inc. in 2003 after 20 successful years in sales and leadership for Fortune 500 companies. Today, Krista and her team of certified business coaches work with C-suite executives to SMB owners, helping them reach their highest level of achievement through amazing sales leadership. Krista's passionate about helping K-Coaching clients get on the fast track to sales success. And they accomplish this through coaching, consulting and training programs focused on building and executing sales strategies, proven sales processes, up-leveling sales skills and implementing successful sales management systems. Welcome, Krista.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. It's great to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. I have actually got your latest book in my hand. It arrived a couple of days ago. Thank you very much indeed. This, of course, published a couple of weeks ago. That's for the listener's benefit. Race to Amazing, your fast track to sales leadership. So it's logical, Krista, that I begin with the most obvious question. Why did you write it?
Well, it's hot off the press, that's for sure. But I have been writing it for many years. It's just great to finally have it actually published. But so when I founded K-Coaching 15 years ago, I started teaching and training and building coaching programs and sales leadership development programs. And so it's really a collection of all of my learning and my experience and the content that we've built over the years, all wrapped up in one nice book.
Absolutely. I haven't finished it yet. I've started. I hope to finish it by the weekend. I'm very, very impressed, Krista. For me, it's timely, and this is a word that you've used in previous conversations. Can you explain to me why you believe that it's timely?
Well, I'm not sure that it would have the impact previously than it would today, because what I'm seeing and we're hearing from so many businesses and thought leaders and sales leaders is that there is an urgent need to up-level sales leadership within organizations. And, it's a very competitive time, and customers aren't as loyal. More strategic thinking needs to take place in order to win new business. There's a global economy. There's a lot of disruptive competitors. So sales leadership is more critical than ever before, and that's why I think the book really is timely.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And my good friend David Curlin, who of course is the CEO and founder of Objective Management Group, and I often discuss this topic, his thinking at the moment is that only 6% of sales managers globally are competent enough, experienced enough, and skilled enough to do the job that they're doing. Is that your experience?
Well, 6% seems like a low number, but I'm sure David's correct. And yeah, that's actually my experience. What happens is often successful salespeople are put into a management role, and it's a completely different skill set. Or the business owner is wearing multiple hats and, trying to be the sales leader along with being the operations leader. And they don't have the skills necessary to take the business to the next level.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and so much has been written about that subject, and that is my personal experience too, and coaching and counselling and training out there in the wide world. But yeah, I think I understand why you think that's a relatively low figure. I always use Pareto's principle, which is of course 80-20, but David's analysis is far, far more accurate than my subjective feel. That's absolutely for sure. And I totally agree with you. I think that when organizations promote their superstar salesperson to sales manager's role with the erroneous thinking, they can sell well, they must be able to manage well, it's folly, because it's, as you said, and you're right, it's a completely different set of skills. Did you know, by the way, that 80%, and there we are, we're using Pareto again, 80% of salespeople, sales managers who are promoted at a time when they're the best performing salesperson, when the vacancy arrives, their tenure is less than 24 months now. And that's quite startling too, isn't it?
Yeah, Well, that brings up another thought, too, in terms of the timeliness is I think there's a lot of large organizations that are faced with this daunting task of developing that next generation of millennial sales leader. And
Yeah.
I'm concerned about that because especially if that rate is 6%, you've got these ineffective sales leaders trying to bring on new sales leaders, and what good is that going to do?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But having said that, I am in favour of Top Gun programs, of course, but most organisations can't afford to invest in that type of thing. Give people the skills before the output's required. It's
Yeah,
a
you're
wonderful place to be,
absolutely
isn't it?
correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the answer to this question is fairly obvious, but I wrote it down before we got online together. Who is the target audience?
Well, I think it's a valid question because there's little niches, I would say. For example, the salesperson who wants to be an effective sales leader and is ready to take that transition into management. Entrepreneurs that are starting their business, because the book contains relatable stories and shared experiences and real practical applications of a startup, gaining clarity on the vision, putting together a sales strategy, how to be an effective sales leader. And gosh, if they had all this at the front end of a startup, I think it would really accelerate their growth and their progress. I think there are a lot of sales managers that are managers. They're not leaders. And there's certain aspects of this book that would really help them understand their role as a sales leader and what they can do better or different to be more effective.
Yes, and there is huge emphasis in your book on the word leadership rather than management. And we've discussed this previously. I mean, you're right, that there is a huge difference in those two roles. And sadly, we don't have time to expand on that today, but maybe we could make that a topic of one of our future conversations.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great topic. And the only thing there's a lot of differences, right, between management and leadership, but leadership is so much more about getting results through others.
Absolutely.
And I think once leaders realize that their role is the impact that they can have on the business and the impact that they can have on others, they start to do a little bit of a self-assessment and try and up-level the impact that they're having in the business that way.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. So you referred to a coach approach to leadership. What's your interpretation of that?
What I'm trying to develop is these managers that need to have this leadership kind of style, but they're not quite sure how to get there. So we do an assessment, and we kind of coin people either a coach, a nice guy or gal, or MIA, just missing in action. So once we determine, what little area are they leaning towards, then we look at what skills need to be developed to be more of a coach. And you can think about a coach in sports is a good analogy. But what we're trying to get these leaders to do is to listen, understand, ask questions, have more coaching conversations so that they can really connect with their followership and be able to inspire and motivate them to be their best. So it's a coach approach to being a leader, and there's some real skills to be developed around that, and that's our coach approach, and we teach that in the book.
Sure, absolutely. When you sit back now and the book's published, what would you say are the key learnings in the book? If you had to sort of very smartly sum up the key learnings in Race to Amazing, what would they be?
First, I would say that self-reflection is the first step. Doing some self-discovery and really looking inward, asking yourself that question, what I want to work for me. And then realizing that if you want things to change around you, you need to change. And that continuous growth and development is a key to that. Another key learning is a simple, tried and true method for creating a winning sales strategy and building an effective management system so that you can be an inspiring leader.
Yeah, yeah. And this final question, because we are, as you know, fairly strapped for time for these JF interview sessions. You've got a very, very interesting background. Will you share with the listeners what some of your personal stories are that others could learn from? Can you share some of your wisdom?
Oh, sure. So I started selling when I was 8 years old. And my father actually put me on the street to go door to door to sell household cleaning products for him, for Bestline, the company that he represented. So I had a pretty early start. And then my parents owned a bar in a coal mining town, and we lived above it. So I got exposure again at a very young age in building businesses and the importance of sales and customer service. So I take kind of all that collection of experiences growing up in that small coal mining town environment and business, and saw my father kind of transform this dive bar into one of the most popular wedding venues in Western Pennsylvania. And I take that and combine it to my years of experience in sales. I started out in sales professionally out of college and continued on into sales leadership, and now am coaching sales leaders all over the world. So I like sharing my stories and the lessons learned along the way. And I think that kind of gets the point across when you're able to share stories and share experiences.
I think that's absolutely right. And I've got to think that all of that experience from early on taught you an awful lot about people, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because you can't, there is no substitute for actually experiencing, people firsthand, all sorts of people, and looking to develop empathy with them. I think that's
You're
an actual
right.
crucial lesson in life, isn't it?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I always saw myself as someone that could, belly up to the bar, so to speak, with the janitor. But if a CEO walked in, I could do the same. And so I think, and I teach in the book this concept about shipbuilding, which is being intentional about building your relationships and your partnerships, and how important that is for effective sales leadership. But knowing people and being able to be very intentional in listening and understanding, it really is a key sales leadership skill.
I couldn't agree more, and it's finding that common ground. I mean, recently we hired a new gardener, and I went out to meet him on the first morning. This is just an example of how fascinating I find people. And I went out to meet him, and I came in about an hour and a half later, and my wife said, "What on earth have you been talking about?" And I said, "Oh, I discovered that we support the same soccer team, and he used to play cricket. He used to open the batting, and he was a wicket keeper as well." And she said, "Oh, I didn't think you'd have anything in common with him." I thought, "Well, you don't know me very well." And this is one of the wonderful parts of life. It's traveling, and it's getting to know new people, and I think there's a real lesson there when developing sales professionals and sales managers, isn't there? It's teaching them empathy. It's teaching them emotional intelligence, and it's teaching them how to feel their salespeople rather than just hear the words. I think I don't know whether you agree with this, Krista.
Well, I do. I think that's a key missing link. I think especially in business, in the business environment, they're trying to please the stockholders, or they're trying to focus on what the business needs without perhaps spending the time necessary on the people. And same with the customers, same in having a sales conversation or a sales approach, thinking about closing the deal instead of what is the real impact that the company could have on that client.
Sure. I think my final thought is that I totally agree with you. I think the timing of your book is highly appropriate. I mean, we know that sales attainment levels, attainment of quota levels are going through the roof, and sales costs are going through the ceiling. And something has got to be done to arrest this alarming decline. And I think we all agree that probably in 2018, less than 50% of frontline sales professionals are going to do their number. And the sales leaders have got to step up to the plate, and they've got to take responsibility. And, you know, whether that's sort of coaching, guiding, steering, and teaching, it's absolutely vital. And I think anything, any book, any program, any course that helps them step up to the plate, it's got to be highly, highly valuable. So yeah, timing perfect, Krista. Well done, you.
It's exciting. Yes, I agree.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you if we can leave the listeners with 3 must-dos. If you're a sales leader, or even if you're a sales manager that has aspirations to become a leader, and there are an awful lot of you out there, what 3 things, Krista, would you tell them to focus on most urgently in order to improve?
The first thing I would ask them to do is to look at their strategy and consider making a pivot or making a change. A lot of times sales leaders get into a rut and they're just doing what they think they should be doing or have always done. So get innovative, look at the strategy, and see what's going on around you and make some changes and make some pivots based on what's changing around you and what clients' needs are. The second thing I would say is there's something that I refer to as strategic passion. So you have the strategy, but now you have to relentlessly drive that to completion. So I would say number 2 is dig deep and discover the passion and the why behind what it is and why it is that you do certain things, and try and bring that out in your everyday living. And the third bit of advice would be that shipbuilding concept, that at the end of the day, people buy from people. And relationships is really what matters. So what can you do more intentionally, daily, as a daily habit, to focus on those relationships that can help you be more successful, and also those relationships that are the most meaningful to you?
Excellent. Excellent advice. Thank you for that, Krista. Okay, everybody. If you would like to know more about Krista, obviously you can Google her. You can pop over to LinkedIn, that font of all knowledge, and you can visit Krista's website, which is www.kcoaching.com. You can even go over to Top Sales World. On the top nav bar, you'll see contributors. There's a drop down there, and you'll find Krista's bio, photograph, LinkedIn details, Twitter details, etc. It's all there waiting for you. Her book is Race to Amazing, Your Fast Track to Sales Leadership, and it is available on Amazon. So any final word, Krista?
Just, I appreciate the conversation. I think it's great. I hope people are listening and are interested in up-leveling themselves.
I agree. And I think you and I could talk on this topic for hours, if not days.
We could.
It's been a real pleasure hosting you, Krista. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I'll talk with you later.
Okay. Okay, everybody. Thank you very much. This is the JF Interview Series. We're back up for a new season. Look out for more dynamic, relevant, in-depth interviews coming up shortly. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.